Good morning.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody, from Kim and Frank Spillers at Rural Community Solutions, where we help you design family friendly, youth centered places that attract people who want to live in your community because they feel great. They sense energy. They just have, they feel that there is life and there is potential. And so that's what we help you do. And so we're so excited that you join us every day on our live stream and on our podcast.
So, the basis of communities are people, and your economy is fundamentally about people. So, how do you do economic development? Well, we do economic development through people. We do community prosperity through people. It's about building an environment to where people feel like they belong and they are valued. And so, this week we're going through our community pillars that we work through on communities to help create them more in a better prosperous way, because you want people to prosper, not just your economy. Because if your economy prospers, you're not quite sure if all your people are prospering. The economy might be good for some, but it might not be good for all. So you want to make sure that your economy is good for all of your citizens that live within your community, because that will attract more people. And that's what this is all about, is how do you attract people that want to live, work, and play in your community? So you need to look at a larger region. And so we're going through these pillars about building relationships, or going through the pillars about how to create that environment, a prosperous environment within your community. And the first pillar was relationships. And we went through that yesterday on our show. Relationships is all about your attitude in your community, the words that you're using. Do you reach out to people, making sure that people's needs are met? Now, what are the needs of your people? Well, we'll follow Maslow's hierarchy of needs because it's basic. They need the physiological needs. So yes, you need to work on housing, but that's not your only need. Yes, you need to work on broadband, but that's not your only need. If you don't know what the needs of the people are in your community, these exterior things of housing and broadband are critical infrastructure pieces. Mm-hmm. But just working on those pieces does not guarantee success within your community. Now, we all need access to broadband. I'm not going to discount that, because that is needed. That is an essential infrastructure piece that is needed across the country today for people to decide where they want to live based upon other factors, not just the economy. Because people want to live, work, and play any place that they choose. They're choosing where to live. And so having that critical infrastructure of broadband, having the critical infrastructure of housing, having the critical infrastructure of early care and education is essential for people to feel safe as you move up the hierarchy of needs. Safety is your second level. Now, that's a security of employment, it's a security of resources, it's the security of the family, health, property, all of those things, so you feel safe, so your family feels safe. That is a concern of people. So once they have their basic needs met and they move up and feel safe in your community, that next level is love and belonging. Do they belong? Do they feel like they belong within your community? So if you look at these basic needs of where your community is going, our second pillar of the community prosperity is all about engagement. In other words, do you actively listen, or do you just wait to talk? So if you're a community leader, engagement is very important for you to know how to do that.
Since August, when we started this show, our live stream, the first week of August. We have sounded the drum consistently every single episode. What a wonderful opportunity COVID has brought for rural America. We've been home based. We're used to traveling 40, 50,000 miles a year across the country to work with communities. And what COVID has helped us do is hone this message to be able to deliver it to communities all across the world, actually, that we have a wonderful opportunity to regrow our populations, to re-energize rural America, because there's so much opportunity. Do you know that there are somewhere around 50, 60 million people who live in rural America? It's a big population. It's a wonderful opportunity for people to choose where they live. And that's where broadband comes in and such. But the broadband is important, the housing is important, the trails and the playgrounds and all that is important. But whether or not a person or a family feels like they can actually plant there and bloom in your community, that's what we're talking about. So engagement is an enormous piece of our 4 pillars, because people want to feel like they can be heard, that their values are going to be listened to, that they will be respected, that they will be accepted, that they can find common ground, that people will have differences of opinion, of course, but whether or not we can be mutually respectful so that we can engage in the economy with our business, we can engage with our children, with our other endeavors and things that we love to do in a given community. That's what we like to focus on at Rural Community Solutions.
So common ground is very different. It's not about common ground of what we believe. It's not about common ground of our positions. It's finding, how do we find common ground through interests? So that's a conversation that is a little bit different to have in your community, because it's an actively listening type of conversation. Not about where your position is, it's about where your interest is. So the ability to integrate a variety of different interests, all right, because everybody has a different interest. You're going to have a family that might be battling opioid addiction. You're going to have a family that might be battling an education issue. You might have a family that's battling a mental health issue. So their positions are, we have to get better. We have to have the resources in this community. But the interests are different. The interests would be in mental health. The interest would be in an opioid problem that we might have in our community. The interest would be in our education process that we have in our community, the equity issues that we have in our community. Those are different issues. So how do we take those issues and find that common ground on them? That is talking through the issue, not just talking about the issue, which we have to chat. So that takes an actively listening type of approach, so you can pull out interests of what those people are working at, and you can combine those. That is a skill, that is a culture that you have to cultivate in your community and learn how to do. Now, we work with a foundation called the Kettering Foundation. Kettering Foundation is a research institute that looks at and works with communities and organizations that find citizen democracy. In other words, how citizens view their role in solving problems, not viewing other people's role in solving problems. So it actually gets people involved in your community rather than having them step back and saying, I sure wish city council would do this, or I sure wish our economic development board would do this, or I sure wish somebody would do something about. It is bringing those folks into the conversation to say, what as a citizenry, citizenry
Yes.
can we do to really come together, find our interest, our common interest, and then move this community forward.
Well, if you're wondering how in the world to do that, the way that we start is that you as a community would create a safe space. Where we typically start is with the library system. There's actually across the country, one of our colleagues has developed a network throughout the library system in the United States. And that's a really safe place to be able to come together and talk about really tough issues that a community needs to address. So that is one place that you could start. We work with our local librarian, for example, and we've held a number of conversations that have been really well attended and have been viewed very successfully. People get together and we don't agree, but we understand each other. And that's where you can move forward on issues in your community.
So identifying those types of issues and working through them really does does work on your basic economy, because once people's issues are addressed, your economic activities start to increase. And so asking questions about families, what would it take to thrive, prosper, those types of issues and those types of questions really get down to the nuts and bolts of the issues that people are thinking about. Having conversations like that are important. And having conversations, it's not just developing those conversations and asking your board to go out and interview people. It is getting people into a room and having a deliberative conversation. We call it deliberative dialogue. A deliberative conversation around how issues can be framed so people can talk through those issues. So if you are interested in having those conversations about how to create civic engagement, how to create actively listening within your community, how to create people that will create those spaces that Kim was talking about, those public, safe spaces, because remember, people want safety. They want to be able to talk freely about the issues at hand and have the community rally around those issues, help them solve those issues, not just let them stand independently thinking they have to solve them alone, but it is a community issue. Then give us an email, give us a call, let us help you build those relationships and build engagement. Now, when we build relationships and we build engagement, you build a value. We're going to be talking about on Friday what values you are building within your community when you go through the 4 pillars of community prosperity, because it's the values that people want. It's the values that move people forward in your community. And that's where your economy starts to move around. So remember, your economy is fundamentally about your people. People build the economy, things don't. So start focusing on your people to build your economy.
We thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you find, have, or create a safe space for your people to talk together about community issues. Tomorrow, we're going to be moving into our 3rd pillar, and that is going to be entrepreneurship. We're going to go with that next. Okay, because we can go back and forth. We're going to go into entrepreneurship tomorrow and then collaboration on Thursday. But we'll be meeting again at 11:30 Central Daylight Time at Facebook and YouTube at Rural Community Solutions. And you can catch a podcast if that's easier for you as you drive or you mow the yard or whatever it is you want to do at anchor.fm/Frank Spillers. Think like an entrepreneur, become a spark plug.
Or shovel your snow.
We're not doing that. It's all melted.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow, and make sure you hit the like button on this. Let us know what you're thinking, and share it with your networks. The most important thing is you can share it with your networks to get people thinking differently about your community. Have a great day.
We appreciate you. Thanks for joining.